So hello, everyone. I am Jessica Koch. I do a Profound Professionals interview series. I feature professionals that are industry leaders and that are touching the world in a greater way. I have the great privilege of being with Annemarie Tolman today. She um, is one of our heroes right now. We are honoring all the nurses and all the people out there on the front line. And she has given any nurse in my book as a hero because they've given a part of their life to caring for others. She's going to share with us some amazing information today, and she's going to give us a little bit of her story and where she's from and her journey. So hi, Annemarie, thank you for being here today.
So good to be here. So much fun. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so tell us a little bit about yourself. So who are you and where are you from?
I love that. And I love your contribution, like what you said about nurses, really, because I am still a nurse. I'm not in the forefront right now, I will tell you that, right? But there's so many nurses who are doing such amazing work right now. And that has been one of my things that I have loved to do. So I am from the Netherlands. If you hear the accent, I came here in my early 20s, got my basic education in the Netherlands as a nurse, and then came here. I was fortunate enough to get to Hopkins and worked at Hopkins for years in oncology, bone marrow transplant, intensive care, and had a really, really awesome experience. Did some research there, led a research team of nurses, which was unheard of at that time because there was all these medical protocols, but I had a small nursing protocol about acupressure actually to help with nausea and vomiting. Oh my goodness, it took forever to get that to approval, but it did. And so that was another one of my experiences. And yeah, then you want to tell me a little more about the story about how I then continued?
Yes, because I would love to know how you got from being a nurse to where you are now. So you own your own consulting firm now, and you really work with different types of categories of clients and help them in special ways. But how did you get from your journey of, because you put so much into becoming the education, and I mean, you're practically, it's so close to what a doctor has to go through. I mean, you guys, I have so much respect for what you do. So it was a long journey. So how did you get from there to here?
And it was a long journey, and I think my time at Hopkins was really interesting. Did a lot of research also around ethics and really about ethical questions that we had. We also had a phenomenal interest at Georgetown Hospital, where I worked with several people who were so well versed in ethics, and that got me an interest in kind of a broader perspective of the world, right? And I got in touch with more of the natural healing modalities that are around us, even with my critical care. And we had a method called healing touch, where you could feel the energy of a person's body and say, okay, what's going on there? So I went through all of that and loved it. Had 3 kids in the meantime, got married in the Netherlands and came back here to the United States, and then had 3 kids. And then my 4th kid was really a game changer for me. My 4th child, Daniel, had trisomy 18, 3 chromosomes 18, and I didn't know that until he was born. But he lived for 4 days on this earth, and he profoundly changed how I viewed life. And so I did go back after him back to nursing, but I only stayed for like 2 months. And my nurse manager said, like, I wasn't surprised when you decided to leave, mostly because for me it was I want to raise my other 3 kids, right? I love what I do at Hopkins and the difference I'm making, but I felt like I want to do more. So I stayed home, traveled the world, homeschooled them, and then the itch of making a difference, like as a nurse, kind of came back. Mm-hmm. So it was about 8 years later where I decided, okay, I'll get my RN back, I'll go back into nursing, and I was ready to go and work at the hospital again. Mm-hmm. That was a mistake. That was an absolute mistake, because when I got to the hospital, there were so the whole healthcare system had changed in that way, but there was so much paperwork. There was so much administration. There was so much not actual having contact with the patient that I was like, I don't think I want to do this. So I spent a very short time at the hospital. And then I started looking at healing modalities, the things I've always was interested in, right? Healing frequency. How do I actually help people change their lives? And I went to a lot of my own emotional trauma as well, and started really like, how do we change lives? And that's what I ultimately started studying with several masters, several programs. And that's, I think, how I got here ultimately. So yeah.
So then from there, you shifted into seeing how you can consult, help, and share. And I think from here is a great segue for us to look at some of the slides you put together to share with everyone. So
Yeah.
so your next step was being that entrepreneur, right? And starting your own consulting firm.
And nurse entrepreneurs are really, really rare. And so, yes, I went from that to saying, how can I help people? And I started building my own business, right, as a consultant, as a nurse entrepreneur, as a coach as well. And then I started also looking like, wow, well, where are people stuck in their businesses, right? So I found that a lot of people there's a lot of healing modalities out to help people kind of get over trauma. But what found for myself, what was missing, I did all this stuff in the brain, right? All this self-development, looking at how that works. But really, what the problem was that I found is that only got me so far. It really only got me so far. Mm-hmm. So I started further looking at what are the other things that really matter, right? Mm-hmm. And that's why you can see it as ultimate brain's coherence between the brain, the heart, and the gut. And really like, what are some other areas that affect how we make decisions and how we make change? And the heart came in for me next. The heart is a big, giant center. We know we have a lot of neurons here, right? What we didn't know until a couple of years ago, actually, is that there's so many neurons in the heart as well. The Heart Math Institute is one of the things that I've really been connected to and learning from, because they have so much actual research showing that it really does matter how your heart is. It really does matter how your heart connects to things. And even with like heart transplant, it's been interesting because there's certain characteristics from a person that go with that person with a heart transplant. Mm-hmm. So it's been interesting when you look at the research around it, like an 80-year mom or 80-year grandmother gets the heart from an athlete, right, who's been through a tragic accident, and then suddenly has the urge to go running like crazy. That happens, right? And the same thing, like,
cool. I guess there's a story here too. Be careful where you get your heart from.
That's right. I know. That's why I think people don't care, but you're right. But even appetites and emotions, yes, people have been known that with a heart transplant that you actually get those. And there's no other organ that's true. You can get a kidney from somebody, and that really isn't true. There's physical changes, but there's not these emotional and these behavioral changes that are going on. So we know there is something about the heart. And if you connect the brain and the heart, you get, and especially if you connect them well, you actually feel better and you start emotionally feeling better as well. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of my second thing. I traveled to Cape Verde, and I forgot to really learn about that because that was a place where people just open, the hearts are just open. And I loved it when I got there. I've been back several times, worked with healers out there as well. And again, it's a place where the heart can expand. So that was my second thing. And then about a year ago, I really got in touch with the gut and the microbiome. And saying, well, how much does the gut, we call it now our second brain, but in the gut, there's also so many different neurological cells, neurons as well. And we know that some of these bacteria in the gut, the biome, actually helps the brain. It actually helps make serotonin and dopamine, neurotransmitters that we usually think about like that, right? So suddenly it was like, wow, there is this third piece. And I started working with that third piece. And suddenly changes are much easier. I mean, Jessica, it's so interesting that certain things that I want are now much easier because this is all connected. And it's not just from here, right? It's also from here.
So is that why when I'm starving to death, I can't think at all? I'm so hungry, I can't think.
That's right. We have all those names even, right? Oh, the gut feeling. I have a gut feeling. Well, where that's coming from? It's right if you think about it. And you're right. If you don't have enough, if you don't have food, then it affects all your levels. Actually, it also affects your brain cell levels and the glucose, right? The sugar in your blood. Mm-hmm. But that gut instinct, that gut feeling that we often have talked about, that is partially because there are certain neurotransmitters that are made in the gut. Yeah. And so if you can optimize that connection between the heart and the gut and the brain, you suddenly start feeling much better. So
yeah. And we have our friends, Deanna and Ann and Narit, and just so many others joining us. So thank you. Feel free to ask questions, but I want to let you keep going on your slide. So the brainwave.
Yeah, so brainwave coherence, that's kind of a big one. And so this is all still very new research, right? If you look at, again, the Heart Math Institute, I'm also very much a favorite of Joe Dispenza. If you look at some of the research they're actually doing in the field, but looking at how does our behavior, how does our thinking, how does this brain-gut coherence actually affect our brainwaves. So really quickly, because I could talk about this for hours, but I know we don't have that. These are some really basic brain waves that we all have. This is scientifically proven. So delta, we're in deep sleep. Theta, we're in kind of in that dream state. Alpha is from 8 to 12 hertz. It's a relaxed state. It's when we actually, maybe some people have had a good, sometimes if you have a good drink or you just feel very relaxed in the evening, that's when you're in your alpha state. Beta is really our normal state. It's where we're focused. The problem is if we stay too much in beta state, because it's also very much a stress state. And then gamma is more of that extreme euphoric state, when you feel really, really good and you feel really in flow. That's the highest state that we can get in. Now, most of us consistently live in beta state, and almost all the time, and that's an issue, right? Because our neurological system, our immune system actually doesn't function that well. In beta, we'll go, right? Go, 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 go. Go, move. We gotta go do things. And we just talked about how busy people are getting again.
Oh my gosh, I feel like I told you I'm sitting in my chair and I feel like I'm running. And I have to tell you, I don't think I ever get to deep sleep. I dream a lot, and my dreams are vivid and exhausting. They're like always action packed. I'm always busy and doing something. And matter of fact, I lay there sometimes and I'm thinking and I think I'm awake and in my head, and my husband says, no, you've been sleeping. I'm like, no, there's no way I was asleep, because I remember laying there thinking. So I don't think I'm getting like that deepest sleep. So I'm definitely excited that I've been working with you on trying to establish that.
Yeah, and really just on a very simplified way, we have REM sleep and non-REM sleep, right? And non-REM sleep takes precedence first. It's when we recharge our physical system. Non-REM is a physical system. REM is really our dream, our emotional state. If you get less than about 7 or 8 hours of sleep, you're cutting down on your REM sleep. And that is important in terms of emotional. It almost feels like you're in this bath of emotional relaxation. That's what REM sleep does. So if you're not getting into that, right, if you only have 4 hours of sleep, you may physically be okay because you did get that non-REM, because the body's clever and say, okay, we're going to take care of this physical stuff first. But you may not get enough of that. Well, you're definitely not going to get enough of that REM sleep. That really, and that's so important for emotional resilience, for the brain, for actually optimizing the brain as well. So yes, we need to get more sleep. We absolutely need to get more sleep. I will tell you, so in general, when we're in beta state, we don't relax enough, right? Fear state is also very much in beta state. In beta state, you really don't reset yourself, and you don't help your immune system, and you don't help your hormonal system. So if we're constantly in that state, we do not have the chance to recover. And that's what we see with I see with a lot of women as well. We have a lot of women on the call too. That's what's happening. You're constantly in this very high beta state, and you can't recover. And that means at night, you sometimes are wide awake and then you feel tired in the morning. It's because a lot of your neurotransmitters are still in that go, 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 go state, right? So what you need to do is really go into alpha state. And that is one of my first phases in what I do, is to help people get more in that alpha, in that relaxed state. Because in that state, you can just relax, your immune system can feel better, your hormonal system can get on board, and you can just do better all around.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So go ahead.
I was just going to say, I was trying to listen to a beautiful meditation Deanna put together. I've tried to listen to some meditations you put together, and my brain can't sit still. It's really difficult for me. And I put it on my calendar to jump on the live that Julie here, she's here with us too. She's doing on laughing, because it's one of my favorite things to do. And I think it would be fun to have my daughter on it with me. So I'm going to try to get her and I to do the live together with Julie so that we can laugh together. But just really relaxing is so difficult for me. So I've definitely been trying. I paint. I try to find the things that that relax me, but I feel like I am constantly on. And Deanna was saying here too that she lives in Beta and has a hard time getting that deep sleep. Oh, and there is our friend Mariana is on with us too. All right, so I'm going to let you keep going. I just want to acknowledge a few people.
Well, no, I love it. And you know what? Laughter actually gets us in high beta, even sometimes in gamma state. That's really good because after that, you often go into alpha. Gamma is an interesting state. It's really when you feel really, really good. And I love the laughing sessions because you get me laughing too, Julie. It's really fun going into that very high gamma and then relaxing into alpha. So yeah, it's very part. In general, if you spend some time in meditation on a regular basis, you will go and reduce yourself to alpha state. It may not happen right away, right? If you have lived with that go, go, go for like eons almost, right? Give yourself some time to meditate and go back. Now, if you have a hard time doing that, and we talked about a little before the call too, take a walk while you're listening to a relaxing meditation. I call it walking meditations. I actually make those because it does two things. When we walk, we process things. A lot of my work with clients, I actually walk. I'm like, can I take a walk with you? And we're doing it on the phone, right? So we're both on the phone. But I find that people process things better when they actually start working. So in the end, I don't actually know how that exactly works with the brain waves, but I bet you that if we start walking, we can also go more in that alpha state as well. So
sleepwalking.
What?
We'll be sleepwalking then, right?
Well, actually, in that sense, because in REM sleep, your body totally paralyzes, which it needs to, because otherwise we would be sleepwalking like crazy. So,
right?
So now you can't do that. So this is what I generally look at when I work with people on a physical level, on a relation level, on a global level, kind of in that order. And then how can we establish brain, gut, heart, and brain, heart, and gut coherence in all those levels, ultimately ending up in neuroflow. That's what I call neuroflow. That's when everything gets, that's that flow state with people, when everything starts going your way, right? We've all had it. I hope we've all had it, when everything just works together, right? And the right people and the right time and the right process all come together. That's what I call neuroflow. That's when it's all together. So and you got to cut me off one time, girl, because I'm going to keep on talking.
No, I'm letting you go, and I'm trying to also stay in touch with our friends here because Patricia Cove has made some good points. Our friend Julie is here, Mariana is here, and they're all really enjoying what you're teaching, and we appreciate this very much. So please keep going a little bit more. I know you only have a few slides, so let's roll through them, but I love the information you're giving everyone.
Awesome. So let's look at those three levels that I talked about, right? Let's look at the physical, the relational, and the global, and see what can you actually do. Now, there's many things you're going to do, and today I'm just going to touch on a few things, okay? Because of time. But let's look on a physical level first. We know, and it's more and more, and I love this book. It just came out. I will do a plug for Dr. Amen, The End of Mental Illness. And what he talks about a lot is that a lot of mental illness is actually brain health issues. So before we actually go and do certain things, go and change your brain. Go and change, and again, that brain-gut connection. And that's why with my clients, I see such an impact, because we finally take care of the brain. We actually make sure there's more blood flow, there's more communication, there's more resilience in the brain. That often reduces anxiety, reduces depression, and people start feeling better just by doing that. We've been so much focused, even in our medications that we use for certain things like anxiety, depression, on the brain. Now, I'm not telling you to stop your medication, okay? That you need to do with your healthcare provider.
Yes.
What I'm saying is, if you can simply just go and change some of the food, for example, that you're taking in, you can make a huge difference, right, in your brain and how you feel. So this is really the kind of the framework that I use between the brain, the heart, and the body, and the gut and the biome, and the vagus nerve that runs in between. I like what you said. I didn't know I had a vagus nerve. Yes.
No, I didn't know I had a vagus nerve. I feel like I could be out partying all the time, right? That kind of Vegas.
I know, I like it when you said that. Yeah, so we do have a vagus nerve, and the vagus nerve actually goes from the brainstem here all the way to our gut. And they've had some interesting research around Parkinson's where they followed certain people who had to cut that vagus nerve just because, honestly, because of stomach issues. And they got the vagus nerve before the stomach. And then, of course, the connection with the brain was still there.
Mhm.
These kind of, they followed a couple of thousands of people. They had 50% less chance of developing Parkinson's. That to me is huge. So
Very huge.
right? So there's some correlation. And again, they know the microbiome is different for Parkinson's patients. There's not enough research. I mean, we need to do more research. But there is an interesting correlation between the gut and the brain. And that is the kind of the first connection that we see, right? Even in illnesses. So what can you do? We talked a little bit about mindfulness and meditation, right? To actually optimize the brain. We talked about the heart and the body, and we talked about how can you move, and simple movements change the heart. And then, of course, the mental wellness diet. That's what I love to do, which I think in general, I love the Mediterranean diet. I know there's lots of diets out there, but if you can actually curb some of your sugar and start eating healthy
She's
food.
talking to me, people.
But I think in general, we know what is good for us. If we,
I know, we do. So I'm surrounded by, I think God is telling me something. I'm surrounded by all these healthy eating people. So Deanna is super healthy, Narit super healthy, all these people. I think Michelle on our group is super healthy. I know Julie's super healthy. Like, all these healthy, crazy people. I'm surrounded. God is like pummeling them around me, and I'm in the center going, okay, I'm full. I'll put down the donut already, you know.
Absolutely, we're coming in. There we go. I love it. Yes, and it's so true. So, but again, I think we can know what is good for us, and we and not. We really generally, I think we know. So it's just trying to being okay and relaxing enough in your body to say, okay, I can listen to that, and also letting go of some of the belief system around what it means to have certain foods that we love, right? So some of the comfort systems and things like that has a lot to do with it too. So,
and if you PM Narit from this feed, she'll send you a healthy chili recipe. She was on live earlier. So there you go. So we've got 5 more slides to get through. We got to roll.
Okay, we're going to roll. Okay. So the second level is really on a relational level and belief system level. Mm-hmm. And I've been through a lot of trauma myself, emotional trauma. Mm-hmm. And I believe what was injured to trauma on an emotional relational level also needs to be healed in relationship. Mm-hmm. And so what I really believe that we can do is again, looking at that whole brain gut connection, but on different levels. And I believe a core historical and genetic level. And I'm a theta healer as well. And I got a lot of this ultimately from theta healing. But how can you change? And this goes deeper, right? This is a little bit of a deeper dive. And saying, how can you be safe in your neurological system? How can you be safe in your body again? A lot of us who have had some kind of trauma, and that can be anything. It can be from severe physical, emotional, sexual abuse to having a teacher that reamed you out when you were young, and that really got into your system. Like, oh my goodness. So it doesn't have to be a big event that can change our safety zone, right? And how we feel safe.
Well, I had plenty of big events that let me just tell you, but I had a kindergarten teacher who would snap in my face. And I have to tell you that if you snap at me, you do not exist any longer. I will not respond to you because so even if you have some real trauma, some of the little things, they have an impact too. Like, we're very sensitive, and our brain imprints these memories, and it does have an effect on how we behave and react to things.
Yeah, and I think, especially right now, a lot of younger kids, they're in theta waves. And in theta wave, you feel a lot, you sense that it all comes in. So when I talk to moms about that the kids being upset right now in the current circumstances, and they cry a lot, or they wake up at night crying, it is because they sense our stress. And so the best thing you can do is put some relaxing music on, do some fun meditations or fun games with them. Be yourself very much relaxed when you are actually in their presence, because that makes a difference for these very, very young kids. So when you had that traumatic experience at kindergarten, that was then you were still in that very much that wave pattern where you could soak everything in. So absolutely. So I think And again, because of time, I won't go too deep, but there is a core level, how we believe. There's a historical level, means we have a general consciousness, right? And that's used right now, about consciousness, about belief system and what's going on and the stress around that. And then there's the genetic patterns, pattern from our past, patterns from ancestors that actually come in. We have that DNA in our body around us. I also believe these people exist. So still around us. So we have those influences as well on our neurological system. And then certain patterns that we've just taken for years and years and years from our own DNA line, from people, patterns around money, patterns on when you save, pattern how you view the masculine, the feminine, right? And ultimately, it's my goal to find yourself and go with you to your truth and what is true for you. And on a very deep level, find those core truths for you and what is existent in your level. And again, then the whole neurological system gets aligned. If we find a truth for you, everything bam aligns. Have you ever had that when you suddenly have this aha moment and it just booms?
Well, yeah. So one example of that for me was I constantly wanted to give. I love people and I love my community, and I wanted to give everything for free away and give all my training away. Oh, they don't have the money. They're my friend. I'm just going to do it for them for free. And it took me a long time to learn and for it to become my truth that I was actually doing them a disservice, because they weren't finding value in, not even though they're my friends and they do know I have valuable training, in their subconscious, they weren't connecting the value of what I was giving them to how it could help them so that they would actually take action on what I was teaching them. So I was truly giving them a disservice by doing that. And I had to learn that, and my truth around giving things away for free had to change, and I had to find a plan B, a different solution. So what I then did was I started putting together programs where they could share my link, then receive some revenue from that. And then if they chose to invest in my course with that revenue, they could. And if they didn't, they could go pay their electric bill or their phone bill or put gas in their car, whatever. So this way I didn't feel guilty about them not being able to afford something they really needed. Like I wanted everyone who really needed what I had to offer to be able to afford it. And so that was the solution, and how I had to come to a new truth with giving everything away for free. And I think that's a challenge for a lot of us, especially female entrepreneurs. We want to give, and we want everyone who possibly needs what we have to have it, So I think that that's something that a lot of people struggle with.
And I love it. And I love how you actually took steps in that, right? Because I also talk about that too. As we expand our safety zone, then it can expand a little bit more. So for you may have a link that you give away. Ultimately, you may say, well, some things are just not going to be for free because I tell you who I am, right? And so you expand a little bit more, and that becomes safety. I find the same thing in things like Facebook Lives. It can be very threatening for people, right? So one little video and put it up, and then expand a little bit more. And so then suddenly, oh, I'm safe here. I'm okay here. Nothing's happening. I'm okay here.
I know. I have, so I do the Profound Professional interview series, and I have two options for my guests. One, we can just do a recording and then we'll push it out on all the platforms, or we can record it and do it live at the same time. And so I let them pick, because some people really have that concern that, I don't know, we're going to mess up, we're going to sneeze, we're going to need a wipe. I did one of my first live guest interviews. My eyes were tearing the whole time. Like I had to take my glasses off. I'm wiping my eyes. The guest is talking. I mean, we're live. There was no fixing it. So there you go.
Well, I love that. And I really feel also, I mean, I love what you're doing anyway. I do feel like this medium, right? Because I don't see the rest. I mean, you're telling me about who's on. I'm like, yeah, but I don't see them. So
yeah, they're all here and they're giving you all kinds of love. They're fantastic. We love our community. We have a great women's share group. And I tell you what, I'm so glad Annemarie invited me. I didn't know any of these people, and now I feel like I have a new tribe. So
me too. I love it too. That was really fantastic how that kind of exploded right while we were doing that.
So Passion Impact Global.
Yes, so let's go to level 3, and that's more in the gamma level or also in the gut level. And I really feel like there we are stepping into, so you've done the basic levels about taking care of your physical health. You've gone into the relationships and this is not a one-step process, right? It continues to go. But You've done some things around changing the relationship. Now it becomes really so a brain and a heart and a gut. I really see this as a gut level, a passionate level. And when I start talking to people, I kind of sense where they are. And for most of us, our brains are pretty much out there. Our hearts, a lot of them are open as well. The gut isn't always there, not depending on the people that I talk to, right? And the gut is really the place where we live our mission. If you look at this, right, the impact, passion, really going for what we really truly want. And we've been so taught as a historical level for women, especially too, is to not always express that completely, to keep listening to other people, not totally express ourselves. And this is the place where I love, and this is something I work on continuously too, love to express myself totally. So I have a couple of steps in that, and they're pretty easy. And this comes also from Joe Dispenza, because I really love Dr. Joe. But what we do in this process, we kind of look at the past and review some of these past patterns. We then become really present to what's happening now. And that's important. The past, some of us are living the same year for the last 20 years, right? Not these women in this group, because we are very innovative and we do all things. But there are people who do that. There are people who live the same life, even as their parents and their grandparents live, right? And so it's okay if you're okay with that. But if you're not okay with that life, then how do you get out of that? And this is kind of the pattern that I have, my own life have used, that's become very successful. So it's becoming present to the here, connecting with the higher frequency, the higher quantum field, like I call as well, and then feeling and setting the intention of gratitude and love and getting into that. And then stepping into your future and stepping into what you really want, the health or the relationship or the business or the people you want in your business, and start feeling gratitude for them. Because even now we can do it together, right? If you imagine certain people that you would love to partner with, you would love to have as your clients, right? Start doing that with your brain, can have the idea in your brain, but then with your heart, connect with them. Connect with the love and how awesome they are, and how much love and how much kindness and how much fun it's going to be to work with them. And then go on a gut level and really see the contribution that you're going to make, either with them or for them, and the difference in the ripple effect that's going to come from working for them, right? Jessica, for you may work with one person, but they may influence a whole entire business, and they may influence other businesses. And suddenly there's this one thing that you did, this one seminar that you did, or this one working with a client for a couple of months, and suddenly, boom, it's all out there. Now, suddenly, does that feel exciting? Does that feel good?
Yes, it's wonderful. And a matter of fact, it's starting to happen to me. So I have been doing this kind of grateful thing on products I'm building in collaboration with other people. I didn't know what those other people were, who they were, but now I'm having conversations with you about it. Before you, I had a conversation with another SEO guy. And so we've got an appointment to build the product actually in 2 weeks. And I'm doing it with 3 other people that I hadn't even realized I was doing it with. So it's exciting when you do have that thought of just putting that thought out there into the universe, and how everybody starts to just show up. It's really cool.
Yes. And I think the key to all of that is doing it consistently. So I like to do it in the morning, but I like to revisit it in the afternoon if I can as well. I need to put a time on I would say the one thing is do that in the morning, but then put a timer to do it again in the afternoon, and do it again before you go to sleep. That will like multiply it like crazy when you do that. I think this last step, I just want to point out, is remembering that. So you're actually stepping into it as if it already has happened, as if you already are collaborating with people, because then you're not looking for it. A healthy person will not say, oh, I need to be healthy, I need to be healthy, I need to be healthy, or I'm healthy, I'm healthy, I'm healthy. They just are healthy, right? If you're in a phenomenal relationship, you can feel grateful, but you're not going to say, oh, I'm so happy in this relationship, and do that kind of affirmation. It's already there. So and this has come directly from Dr. Joe, is saying to remember the future, stepping in as if it already has happened. And then things can come to you much faster, because then it's you're sending out that signal like, oh, okay, I'm here. This is here. I'm happy to be here for it. So I think that's honestly is one of the keys. If we would do that consistently for ourselves, and you can also do it for team members, for family members as well, and start living like that, things happen much, much faster.
Well, from a relationship standpoint, I'll say one thing. I'll share this with everyone because let me just tell you, it makes such a big difference in my life for more than 20 years. So when I remarried, I have a new husband. We every day, sometimes more than once a day, we will tell each other 3 things that we love about each other. And only one of those things can be, ooh la la, right? The other 2 are about my character or my person or things I've accomplished or things I'm doing or things he's noticed and vice versa. And I'm starting to do it with my children too. So just tell them 3 things you appreciate about them or you find valuable about them. And when you start to do that on a regular basis, it really builds their confidence, your relationship, your trust. And it's very healing for relationships, especially if you have some that are tough. You can still find 3 things about that person that you admire or you are grateful for. And I think that's the beginning steps to healing some relationships as well.
Beautiful. Oh, that's such a gorgeous practice. I love that. No wonder you have a beautiful marriage. And you've talked about it and you love it. But that's a beautiful example. I mean,
It feels great. It makes you feel so valuable and so important. It's really wonderful.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, that's it. That's what the process I do with people. I think I'm only in the infant stages of this, Jessica. I feel like in so many ways this has come together for me in this last year where I've really kind of put this together, but it's not finished. And I think our knowledge about the whole brain gut biome and the heart, right? The whole connection between that is only expanding, is scientifically expanding. And there's so many more research around that. And I same thing with the supernatural brain and the same thing but ultimately is stepping into the future. There is so much more to be learned around this. So to me, it's like I'm excited to have these programs, but then also to really expand them and just keep learning, right? And keep on expanding.
Right. Absolutely. So one of the things that started Profound Professionals was featuring people who are leaders in their industry like you as you're developing and following the science and understanding what's going on with this kind of brain gut connection and different thing, in the neurons you're talking about in the heart and just all the study as it opens up. You're an industry leader and you're a professional in this area. But outside of that, you also are doing something to support and touch the community or the globe at large. And one of the ways you've been doing that is highlighting and featuring amazing nurses. Will you share a little bit about those interviews that you've been doing with everyone?
Yeah, I love it. So my heart's always been with nurses, and but I think nurses have such a creativity to them that we don't always see. So I have a podcast and interviews. It just really started, but it's called Nurses Outside the Box. I started in January, and it's becoming more and more relevant. And it really does feature nurses who do something that we don't usually think of as nurses. I had one nurse on lately that talked about a feeding habits, how to actually feed people with dementia. And usually we hold people's hands when we do that. And she said, if you put your hand underneath of it and do it, it's so much more natural. And I was like, that is such a simple thing. But can you imagine having problems with dementia and somebody grabbing your hand versus doing this? Huge, 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 huge. So I'm so excited to have these nurses come on, and I'm finding more and more through LinkedIn of these very creative nurses that are making a true difference in the world in very creative ways. And I'm so excited to feature them and to keep on featuring them, right? Because right now nurses are heroes. And there was a quote saying, from hero to zero. And I'm like, oh, no, we can't go there. And I would love to, I'm planning to keep on featuring these nurses because there's some phenomenal creative nurses that I love, and both in the profession of nurses, but in general, just the creativity and the difference that they're making. It's just phenomenal. Every one of them, I'm like, oh my goodness, you have my heart, you have my support. It's just amazing what you're doing. So yeah.
Well, I know we did a little bit longer than normal, but I'm trying to include some really valuable training. And I think this information is huge. So if you have time to watch the replay or you have the ability to share this video and this replay with someone else, this will also be on YouTube as well as in a LinkedIn article, and be shared to Facebook and Twitter again from that format. So please share with loved ones or people you think have an interest in how we can really have our best brain, right? Be the best versions of ourselves and making that connection. So thank you for taking the time to watch. Please like, share, and comment, and tell us how we can help you, because Annemarie and I are both doers and helpers. So if you have something you're going to post or something you'd like us to share, we are there for you. Before we say goodbye, I just want to say, Annemarie, is there a quote, a book, a life step that's made a big difference for you? Something you can share before we say goodbye to everyone.
I think the thing that makes most difference is the Supernatural, Becoming Supernatural by Joe Dispenza. I love that book. And I think because it talks so much about, if we could on a regular basis step into the future we really want, it's such a simple thing to do. But it would change our lives, it would change our families, it would change this entire world if we simply would do that. Just step into it in the morning, start feeling and creating and stepping into the future that you really want, with the relationship and the health and what's happening into the world and how you really want it to be, and start feeling excited and love around that. That's all it takes. That's really all it takes. And we would change lives left and right if we would teach our kids that. Oh my goodness, I don't know what would happen. It's just if all our kids in public school would learn that method, I mean, the roof would be off there. We'd be doing crazy.
That sounds fantastic. If you have the link to that at some point, maybe we'll drop it in the comments as well. And again, thank you for taking the time to be with me. Thank you for everyone who took the time to watch with us. We really appreciate it. And if you'd like to be interviewed on Profound Professionals, whether live, if you're brave enough for live, or if you want to do the recorded version, that's still available too. Reach out to me in a private message. All my contact information is everywhere. It'll also be in the comments here. Have a wonderful, beautiful day. Tomorrow's Wednesday. Here we are halfway through another week again. So until next time on Profound Professionals, bye everybody. Bye-bye. Thank you, Annemarie. Thank you, everybody.